Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're discussing the lesser-known Looney Tunes series, Wabbit, which was called for the first season.
This version of the show focuses mostly on Bugs Bunny and his satirical adventures in the world as he deals with new obstacles every day, from the woods to the city, and even underground.
Yeah, so before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and multiple pause videos.
Yes. The major thing here is in the first season, Bigfoot is voiced by Matthew Mercer, also known as Levi Ackerman, Attack on Titan, also known as King Sinbad, Magi, and the Labyrinth of Magic.
Yeah.
It seems impossible. He has such amazing range.
And I couldn't believe that was him when we watched it. And we were thinking, well, at first I was thinking Tom Kenny, but the more I listened and the more I realized it wasn't Tom Kenny at all. It was like someone's trying to sound like when he did Heifer. Then we got to the end credits, we couldn't believe that's who it was, Matthew Mercer.
Yes, and then they had some regulars that appeared, including Fred Tatasciore, Matthew LaMarche,
and D. Bradley Baker.
Yes, D. Bradley Baker.
Jeff Bergman, who's also the voice of Bugs, Eric Bauza, Jim Cummings.
So, some heavy hitters that were taking up the mantle from Mel Blanc.
Right. Yeah, for this show, I heard about the show a lot. It was after they had rebooted Looney Tunes at one point when they made them modernize in the suburbs, and it was like Seinfeld. But this one came much later where it supposedly goes back to the roots of Looney Tunes, in which you're put into this world, and it's a lot like a regular show where every episode anything goes. It's supposed to be where for Looney Tunes they have these different adventures, a different time period, different thing. It'll be something different every time. But for here, it seems more like regular show because just the most surreal things have them just doing simple things, and I think that's where the formula came from. Anything Bugs tried to do that was pretty normal, something random came up and it would uproot everything.
It didn't have the charm of the original series. It had its own feel. The first disc we watched, which I think was the first 13 episodes, were the most interesting out of the season. There were lots of them that we really liked, but then you got to the second disc, and not only did the intro change, but the feel changed, the adventures changed. It was like it was an entirely different show, and even the last two episodes had a different intro and a different feel. And for me, maybe they weren't happy with the ratings and they were trying to correct that by changing the format in the second half of the season, but it simply didn't work. There were two standouts for me. One was the silent episode, which is ironic. The episode that was silent with absolutely no talking or speaking was the best of the second half of the season, and the two of the best episodes feature Yosemite Sam. Being Yosemite Sam, that they kept. Now that was like watching a regular Looney Tunes episode, and the rapport between Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam was just like in the original series. They got that right. But other than that, the first 13 episodes were the best.
Right. And then when we got towards the end of the season, they started introducing some other Looney Tunes characters. There weren't really that many besides Yosemite. Towards the end, they had Tasmanian Devil, but he wasn't this wild feral animal. He was a workaholic who had a family and was stressed all the time, so like the wild days are behind him, like he was in a midlife crisis. Like, what? How does this fit with Looney Tunes? It's not even the one where they're in modern day. It was just a really odd take on him.
He was no longer Tasmanian Devil. It wasn't entertaining and it wasn't fun. The best thing about it, of course, was seeing Bugs again, because Bugs was my favorite out of the original Looney Tunes. And there were times where you could see the spark was there, and you could see that it was ready to be lit, but it didn't get lit in the writing.
Right.
It just didn't work, unfortunately.
Right. And with that, you can see it constantly changing. Now, we haven't seen seasons 2 and 3 when it was rebranded Looney Tunes show and they introduced the rest of the cast. But the first one, it seemed like its own thing with Bugs, and they introduced a new Looney Tune called Squeaks, who was a squirrel, and he couldn't speak, but I guess Bugs could understand him. And with that, they had sort of adventures with him, but all had to do with peanuts, so there wasn't that much else they did with the squirrel. And then with the intro changed its theme song 3 times. First it had first, like you said, first it went to I think scatting or something.
The Wabbit theme was what it's called.
Yeah, and then the second one it was like a country song. Then the third time it was rock and roll or something. It was like changing it every time. It was different. Like it was so bad it couldn't even keep its own theme.
Yeah, again, unfortunately, you could see there was something there, but it just didn't work out.
Right.
So
they did have Wile E. Coyote on there, though.
Yes, they did, and he wasn't like himself either.
It was
the
weird.
only one who was like himself was Bugs and Yosemite Sam.
Yes, pretty much it.
Those are the only 2 characters that were, as you remember them. And again, the dynamic between them was kept in the show. It worked perfectly. It was great. It was the same. And they were 2 of the funniest episodes of the entire season.
Right.
Along, as I mentioned, with the silent one, which was absolutely brilliant and hilarious. And again, you could see the promise there with that one, what they were going for. And in that particular episode, they did it. And in the Yosemite Sam Bugs combo episodes, they did it. But in others, they just didn't do it. Even with Matthew Mercer doing Bigfoot, the funniest parts were him calling Bugs lady and ma'am, thinking Bugs was a girl.
Right.
And hey lady.
Yeah, hey lady. And then when they had these other episodes, like I said, the place would always change, and usually Bugs dealt with the same type of conflict, where it was some big meathead jock or egotistical character, and Bugs had to knock them down a few notches, and it was the same every time. You would have thought at one point you had a baseball player, an artist, a dog walker, and they almost looked like the same guy with a different costume, and it was a big old meathead that thought he was the best, beat the crap out of Bugs, and it was like, are you sure it's not the same guy with an identity crisis or something? And then they would get to later, they started doing more, like I said, surreal things. Like there were ones where he had to fight off the Grim Reaper like it was Animaniacs or something. Then there was ones where
definitely not as funny.
Yeah, and then where he traveled to different places in the world. There was one where he fought dust bunnies, like a little Halloween troll and stuff. And then the last thing was that it got dated at one point because they started referencing stuff that was current at the time.
Right.
Like they had an episode where he was referencing the OxyClean commercials. And not the ones we see now, but the ones where they had the spokesperson on there, and it said, instead of OxyClean, it was MoxyClean. And you kind of wonder, like, this just immediately dated the episode, because this isn't even done anymore.
No, because he passed away.
Right.
So, if you have seen Wabbit, either the first season or the entire series, let us know what you think in the comments below. Let us know if it gets better in seasons 2 and 3. Or just let us know how you think it compares to the original Looney Tunes series.
Yeah, especially with all these references. Oh, and be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
Yes.
So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Masculine Entertainment.
I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man. Who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket.